Hello and welcome to LB Presents Unite on Purpose. I'm back from my brain holiday and I have to say, I need to tap my head, get all the cotton wool out of it, because I'll tell you, taking a few weeks off in August and just chilling my boots, I now need to try and wind myself back up. So I thought, what better way than to have my show, LB Presents Unite on Purpose, which, as you know, is our opportunity to bring together an organization of purpose-driven movement towards global unity. What if we could shift education, health, manufacturing, retail, engineering, architecture to be able to make an impact in the world? And so my belief was that we could always create the face of modern business and the face of the modern world. And so when launching Bob Earth, which is a purpose-led platform connecting businesses to trade, we've had over 5,200 businesses go through our Bob School, a business school that teaches businesses how to drive purpose into their business, lead with purpose, but also drive a commercial result at the back end. And so I decided to run this show that interviews somebody, a business owner, every night that's on one of our programs, one of our schools, and they talk about what purpose means for them. And so today I have the great pleasure of interviewing John Race, and he comes from MCM Architecture, and they are actually a leading creative consultancy agency, and they are focused on the workplace. Now, when I met John, I have to say that John is a particularly unique character, because when you get to know him underneath, you will find out that he is very purpose-driven and he is doing something really, really interesting in the workplace. So thank you, John, for coming on today and being part of LB Presents.
Thank you for having us.
So John, look, I was just saying, I've had to literally tap the cotton wool out of my head because I've been on brain holiday for August, and I'm now ramping myself back up again. And so how's the summer been for you?
It's been really good. It's been challenging because of the times that we're living in, but it's been really good. We've got some really great, exciting things happening in the business, which is keeping everyone motivated and fired up. And we've had some good weather that helps. And so, yeah, not bad. Been a good summer.
And so would you share with everybody, could you tell everybody your story of how you even got into the business in the first place? And then I'm going to take them on the journey of how your uniqueness has come to light. But if we just start off with your journey of how you got here.
Yeah, sure. So MCM as a business was founded just over 30 years ago. And as you kindly said at the beginning when you introduced us, we focus on creating excellent work environments. So places where people can perform, where people can be their absolute best for the organizations that they work for. And as a practice over the years, we've probably worked with most different sectors, from legal and business advisory to fast-moving consumer goods to media organizations and everything in between, and you know, some huge multinationals as well as small companies as well, privately owned companies. I mean, my own background, I'm a designer by training. I went to university and studied industrial design. I stumbled into the world of working, creating workplaces fairly early on in my career. But I guess for me, it's I was always really interested in design with a very, very purpose-driven thing. It's not a kind of throwaway or sort of, you know, decorative fancy that follows fashion. It's something that actually is conspicuous in its use, can really drive performance in business, and that's what interests us as a business, and that's what we do as a business.
So look, there's many questions that I want to ask you. Like, I come from a fashion background, building fashion brands, so it always fascinates me, fashion over function, and interestingly, you found a uniqueness to create beautiful creative spaces and also have them functioning very, very well. What I'd first like to know is, you said that you've been working in the workplace environment for a number of years. You must have seen some incredible trends taking place from when you started the business 30 years ago. Could you talk to me about that? Because I come from a trends background and I'm always fascinated with the industry and the market.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think, the world of workplace and people's expectations and norms and things. So, the trends there's been lots of changes over the years. I guess one overarching theme, but it's a kind of recurring trend that keeps evolving, if you like, is the idea of new ways of working, so alternative ways of working, but actually often wrapped up with new language, but often not always meaning different things, just presented in a different way. So that could be hot desking. There's been a big trend that's happened over many years as organizations trying to optimize the performance of their work environments and looking at the kind of inherent redundancy, just because not everybody's in all the time, and when people are in, they're in meetings and all the rest of it. Therefore, do we need all of this space? And I suppose there's been lots of iterations of that over the years, and some successes and some absolute car crashes in terms of how successful that's been for organizations. And on a people level, lots of people really not understanding humans, if you like, in terms of the needs of the human. It's putting them into a machine and telling them to perform and love the organization at the same time. And by the way, we've taken your desk away and everything's wonderful, share everything and all the rest of it. I think one of the so that's a persistent theme in terms of efficiency and all the rest of it. I guess in later years, that's been presented more on the basis of activity-based working. So understanding better what spaces people need to perform within their work environment. In the distant past, everyone just had a desk or an office and that was it. You just sit there and work, and we'll give you a bit of equipment as well. But actually, when you start looking at the sort of activity-based working, where people can work in different work settings, if they're working in a collaborative environment, then they're not sat at their desk. They're probably in team areas or such like. Have I frozen? I'm not sure if I've frozen. No, I'll carry on. So activity-based working is a theme that has emerged, but I guess the most recent trend is the actual focus on being human and actually understanding what it's like to, what do humans need to work within the workplace over and above the efficiency of the organization. It's actually, how do you actually tap into the needs of the people that work there? And I think that's one of the biggest trends. And I think organizations that get those human needs are the ones that will succeed, and they will win the war on talent.
Well, there's something interesting. Obviously, we've been in the biggest, recession, pandemic. The world is probably going to see. It's predicted that it's a wartime recession, not just a global recession. And the impact that has had on the workplace is, catastrophic, I would say. From co-working spaces through to people going into the office, and now the home, like we all know, is the new office. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, it must have been a massive change point for the industry. How have you taken that on?
Yeah, absolutely huge change point for the industry. And I think one of the biggest, when we went into the first phase of lockdown, we pulled together a group in the business which we called our Skunk Works team, which is our innovation think tank, to kind of look at what's the purpose of the office in the future, what's its purpose, what's its function. We no longer understand. Well, we know things are going to change. We don't believe everyone's going to use the space in the same way. But actually, I think one of the big things that's come out of this, which I think has been a shock for many organizations, actually, if you trust the people that work for you, and you've been forced to trust them, you may not have granted them that trust in the past. Actually, people are very responsible, and I think many organizations have been very, very shocked by actually how successful home working has been for them, and how quickly they were able to adapt to it, and how organizations actually, some are thriving in this world. So I think we looked at the purpose of the office, and we think that offices aren't going to go away. They may be smaller. They may have different functions. They're not going to have rows of serried desks in them anymore and everyone laid in. But importantly, organizations are going to have to embrace different behavior, or accept different behaviors, and give their employees more trust. and give people the choice and freedom to work in the spaces they need for the time that they need them. And part of their working environment will in the future be their home, as well as third places and the kind of corporate hub that is the kind of cultural heart or the manifestation of the brand at the epicenter. So I think it's very challenging for a business that's made its fortune, I suppose, on fitting out millions of square foot of office space. The future is very different for the world of designing offices. But we think it's a tremendously exciting opportunity for recreating what the office of the future should be. But home working's here to stay.
Oh, well, this is very exciting for me, because I went on and spoke for Strutt and Parker all about consumer trends. And if Strutt and Parker is one of the biggest estate agents in the UK, they have 500 people working for them. And we talked about the trend, of home working, home living. Will there be even room for the office? Will people just start ditching the office? And when I was reading through some of the material for you, I heard that you said, the office space could potentially be a place not to do work. And and I'm quite interested to understand your view on where do you think the future of office is moving to? Is it the home? Is it that we're all going to now kit out our houses and have offices in the garden, upstairs, changing bedrooms? Is that the future?
I think when we said that the office isn't a place for work, I think not the place for work as people would associate the office with desks and computers. Is the office of the future really going to be the place where people commute long distance to go and spend the day chatting to a few colleagues and then doing the rest of their concentrated work, writing reports or doing emails? Why would they go to the office to do that? That's what we mean.
Absolutely.
That's not the purpose of the office in the future. The purpose of the office in the future is to engage colleagues with the brand of the organization, the purpose of the organization, the mission, the values, to collaborate, to learn, to train, to mentor, to bring on talent, all of those sorts of things, which will demand very different spaces from, acres of desks lined up with computers on. Those sorts of that sort of work we think will be done in other places, whether it's in your attic, your shed, or in a co-work space, or even in a regional co-work space. And we're talking to one major retail banking organization at the moment, talking about activating some of the redundant space on the high street as a kind of alternative place for people to work away from their home, but not in the hub place, in the city. So we think the office will look very different.
And do you think there's a space for you if you fast forward two years even? When I was chatting with Strutt, we were talking about people are now really investing in larger houses. They're moving out of the city, which has high rents and so forth for city living, buying bigger homes and actually converting, like you said, roofs and so forth into offices. Is that an area that you think yourself will move into, and you will move your business model into building, creating, architecting these wonderful office spaces in houses?
Possibly. I think we would definitely, our consulting part of our business will definitely help organizations navigate and manage how they're going to facilitate home working. And home working is the employer is still going to have a responsibility for the safe working environment of their teams, whether they're working from home or in the corporate office. So we're talking to one organization at the moment about the premise of what home kit do they provide their employees. Is a branded bit of equipment or desking, storage, seating, PCs, whatever, even branded backdrops. What do you provide your employee as part, along with the iPhone and the laptop, to enable them to work in different places? But potentially we could see the creation of small portable or transferable office structures that you could deploy in people's backyards. And there could be different ways of acquiring some of these things. They could be on a subscription basis or things like that. So we've got some ideas about what those other spaces could be.
We had a glasshouse company come through, Bob, called Alitex, and they create the glasshouse, the greenhouses at Kew Gardens and all sorts of different places. And it would be interesting to put your brain with Tom's brain to think about how to turn the glasshouse into this beautiful office space for the garden and what that might look like.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, our architecture team are looking at that as a kind of hypothetical challenge at the moment in terms of what's an economical, sustainable, environmentally sustainable, transferable micro building that sits below the planning regulations that you can deploy in different places. So we'd be delighted to meet your friends at Alitex. Yeah.
So, John, it's time to ask you my killer question. And you have been on our L&D program, which I will come to in a moment, and you recently campaigned with us all around Unite on Purpose. And so you will know very well that I will ask you a question, which is, what are you known for, John? What's your purpose? What's your DNA of what you're going to do in the world?
Well, our purpose is designing a future that people love. And that might be quite an unusual thing for us to say as an organization that design offices. And designing offices, doesn't that sound boring? Well, you know, we're really interested in the potential of people, and people go to work to perform for the organizations that they work for, and they want to love their life. They want to enjoy their existence. They don't want to be stuck on the train, commuting backwards and forwards. They don't want to be stuck in a grey box in front of a beige bit of equipment drinking horrible coffee. They want to work in a place that actually enables them to be the best that they possibly can. And you know, we imagine a space, a time where maybe the office is decentralized. There'll still be the corporate hub in the city, but actually, you know, maybe we can reactivate communities in the high street by providing co-work spaces that are part of a hub and spoke model for organizations, and actually, you know, bring some of the things that we've learned in this period of the pandemic to let's hold on to some of the good things that we've learned in this period in terms of people, the positives that people have witnessed. And so we think it's actually our responsibility as designers to enable the clients that we work with. Look, all you want to do is drive the performance of your people in your organization. You're using us as a design consultancy to create a space that actually brings out their performance, that engages them with the brand and the corporate purpose, and ultimately delivers something better, leaves something better than it was before. So that's our purpose. And that's what
you mentioned about, you know, a future for people to love. And earlier on in the interview, you also said really the word human, that was a key word for you moving forward when people are coming together and really identifying that human side. We talk about the human response. And talk to me a bit more about that. Talk to me a bit more about, because in my view, what I can hear you're saying is it's no longer just about creating a space for an office anymore. It's actually about creating communities. It's about bringing people together. It's about that human connection. It's maybe not even about just going into the office for work, but actually, how do you collaborate now? What does the collaboration piece look like? And so would you talk to me in a bit more detail about the human side of the organization and what you see? Because you go into so many offices and where you think that's moving.
Well, I think, you know, offices, and, you know, you asked me about trends earlier. Offices have... the reason lots of decisions are made in corporate office space in the past has been around, you know, cost. Let's be honest about, you know, the drive to put everyone into an open plan environment was often driven by the desire for cost. And it's wrapped up and presented on the basis, look, this is better. People perform better in these kind of environments. Well, actually, they don't always. Not everyone performs better in those environments. In fact, you know, you've got the whole, you know, spectrum of introverts and extroverts and everything in between, and omniverts and all, you know, not everyone performs in the right way. So I think, you know, that's what we mean about sort of like tapping into the human needs of why create something other than you've got to create a container to put people in. It's actually a container to actually enable performance, and actually a deeper understanding of what the individual needs will shape the design of the design, the behaviors, and also the places that people want to work. And that's why we're interested in the change that this brings about, that COVID brings about in terms of the world of working. Because I think some people have been really surprised at how efficient they can work at being at home, or in other places. I think we're working with one very massive international publishing house who have said, and this is completely against all of the trends of all of the assumptions around creative industries. They have seen some of the best creative content that they've ever produced from their photography studios in this period where they thought everybody needed to be in the office, all the photo editors all together all the time. They have been absolutely astounded by creativity. And, that's what we're interested in terms of the human side of things. Well, let's understand deeper before we make assumptions and say, look, well, they're creative, stick them in a collaborative space, they'll be their best. Well, maybe they won't. So there's a deeper thread that we're interested in.
Do you know what we've found as an organization? I mean, we are an entrepreneurial led organization, so we're actually not office based. And Bob, as a business, we've always promoted the home being the place that you dial up. The kitchen is the place that people now dial up to the world. But productivity has risen tenfold in our business from actually connecting with each other every single morning on Zoom, because we're all around the world, in Australia and Canada, and it's quite difficult sometimes. But because we've been so focused as a business through this pandemic, even though we all do work from our houses, productivity and actually our relationships with each other has gone up tenfold. Have you been finding that with other businesses?
Yeah, absolutely. Both ourselves as a business, but also some of the clients that we work with as well have also picked these things up. And from our clients' perspective, what's that enabling is actually, we want to do things differently. We pay all this, hundreds or millions of pounds in rent each year to create these great temples that we call the office, when actually we've seen some quite transformative things happening by not using our office. So why are we paying the rent? So and I do think we have some challenges, though. I think in terms of cultural glue, we're doing a lot of talk about cultural glue in organizations.
I was going to ask you about culture. That was my next question. So I love that term, cultural glue. Tell me about that.
It's the essence of the organization that binds the people together. The tribal association with the brand, that they just say, look, I'm proud to work for this firm, and yes, I am part of that tribe and part of the DNA of that organization. So I think, and I think that's one of the key purposes of the Office of the Future. It's something that will actually it's almost like putting that part of the business on steroids to actually get the people to connect to it. So it almost becomes like a honeypot that the bees are just attracted to. They've got to go there sometimes to get their vital fix of the culture and the glue of the organization. They want to go there, and there is a very distinct purpose, and it's not just to sit behind a computer next to a colleague that you speak to occasionally.
So you've come through our L&D program, and you've been on the program now for 4 months.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, 3 months. And because obviously when you came on, and we've been transitioning you through there's like 144 businesses going through that program, all different shapes and sizes. How have you found coming on the program from the beginning to now, and what's been your aha moment, transition moment, and you just campaigned with us with all those businesses? So could you talk to me a bit about that?
Well, first of all, I think it's fantastic. I mean, there's a few of us from the business on the course, and it gives us great energy each week. And in such challenging times, whilst we're pretty positive people anyway, these are challenging times. It's giving us great energy and enthusiasm. We really look forward to the Thursday sessions. I think
this Thursday.
Pardon? As I know, it's in the diary. It's in the diary. Don't worry. I guess for me, I'm really appreciating both the L and the D side of things. I think probably I sit somewhere on the spectrum between two, which is probably not helpful. But for me, I can kind of flip flop between the two bits in terms of the sort of the two parts of it. I think. The premise of shifting the business from from push to pull was and how to do it and all of the different elements around campaign I found really, really fascinating. We'd already started doing some of the things that you've taken us through, but actually you've really helped us to understand what we're doing, and actually what we're doing, making what we're doing even better. So that's been really, really exciting, and we're very fired up by it.
And what was it like? Because just before we broke for Brain Holiday, there was like 144 businesses that got together one morning, and we all campaigned around Unite on Purpose, and it actually trended on Twitter all day. What was it like for it as an experience, actually being with so many purpose-driven businesses that are all looking to do something impactful in the world?
I mean, for a business, we've got quite a few people on the course. So Sarah led the charge from our side on the campaign thing. Again, really energizing, incredibly exciting to be part of something with a purpose, and something that we're 100% behind. I think one of the reasons that we signed up to the course was when we watched the Bob video and the Shift the World thing, and the sort of like shifting old paradigms to new ways of work. We're on the money. It's what we want to do. We're aligned to it. So being with so many other people that want to do something similar is tremendous. It's really, really exciting.
So before I give you a present, I want to ask you, with all your insight on the trends of what's going on in the workplace, you're 30 years in an industry. Are there any golden nuggets? Is there anything up your sleeve? Is there any innovation that you're planning to do and come out with that you can reveal on My LB Presents?
So we've got various initiatives we're working on at the moment. A couple of years ago, we brought into the business behavioral change psychologists to work alongside the design team to help our guys better understand the needs of the people working in those businesses. We're going to launch a program with our consultancy team to help organizations grapple with how do they adapt their work model to a hybrid model where their teams are half in the office and half out of the office. How to define the purpose of their own office and what's the purpose for that individual business. And actually, how do you manage your people so that they do remain connected, aligned to the brand, and their connection. So we're launching that shortly, which will be, we hope, a step change for the business.
That's a huge step change for the industry, actually.
I think it's overdue. I mean, we were already starting on this before. We'd started this before, a couple of years ago, and I think it's coming to fruition. And we're seeing clients are just like, they're worried. They see an empty building. They see all their people working other places. They're paying the rent on this building. How do we put it back together again? And I think that's a hugely exciting aspect for a thing. And what I like about that, it adds additional value to design. I'm a designer, and I believe that design of all sorts and all kinds is incredibly purposeful and important anyway. And I think it adds an extra layer of credence and weight to what we do and the power of design.
Interestingly, we had a man who I will contact you with called Neil Shah, and he is quite a prominent person who looks at health and well-being in the workplace. And it is for sure a trend that is about to kick off. It already has started, so it's about riding the trend, but it's very early stage of the trend. And I believe health and well-being in the workplace and integrating that into the architectural design of things is absolutely the way forward for how people will live and work, because of mental health as well, and mental health issues as well that are now so prominent, not only in the workplace but in the home also.
Yeah, definitely. No, great. And absolutely. We've seen over the years, it's ever increasing conversation with our clients about well-being in the workplace and what, how's that? How do you deliver a workplace that supports well-being, whether it's physical or mental well-being? So
I'm running out of time, and I need to give you your Unite on Purpose bag because I was with Boris in August and he gave me the keys to the UK. So I'm putting them in here, but he told me he wants them back, unfortunately, John. Hang on, I'm going to pass you the bag. Hang on.
Thank you.
We got it.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So, John, you have the keys, but only for one day.
Okay.
And if you want the keys back, what are you going to do to unite people on purpose for one day here with Boris?
What are we going to do for one day? Oh my goodness, it's the $1 million question,
isn't it?
We're going to embrace the changes that have been brought about by COVID-19 and build upon them, and we're going to design a future that's better than it was before for the people that work in the workplace, and that's what we're going to do with the keys.
Woohoo! I think you can have them for an extra day.
Oh, good. Thank you.
That'll be fine. Thank you so much for coming on the show today. The half an hour always races by and I always want to ask so many more questions. But if you would like to see John, then do click onto his website and you will be able to find him. Or if you want to watch the video again, then just go onto my YouTube channel, Lindsay Boyd, click subscribe, and you will be able to watch this video again. And I will be on LB Presents again tomorrow night at 5 o'clock, where I will be interviewing some incredible people that are building a brand to grow a business, to impact an industry and shift the world. And shh, there's a quiet revolution happening. So why don't you come and join us on Bob Earth, spinning around, and you will meet the incredible people like John, who I've been interviewing on this show. Thank you very much, and I'll see you tomorrow.